So I am thrilled today to be here with Jason Matias, who is in Washington State and has got up early for us today to talk about all things contribute to, but also a little bit about your career as a photographer and your sort of path to here. So hi, Jason.
Hi. Yeah, I'm here in Seattle and I'm going to do my best to have brief answers, but I run on a lot. So we'll see how it goes.
We
Uh,
did try and set this up as a let's do this. Let's be laser sharp and focused. But I guarantee, given how every other conversation that you and I have had, which
yeah.
don't just start and stop, we may be here for a minute. But I'm actually really glad to have the opportunity to do this because I don't think I have like put you on the spot and asked you the specifics, right? Like I've read about them and I've done some digging because you're wonderful at talking about your journey. But maybe you could give us just a little potted history or point us in the direction of stuff that's already out there that you think people should look at to sort of get a better sense for what you do.
Okay, so the journey in a nutshell. I mean, like a lot of artists, I started when I was a kid, right? My dad didn't give me a camera like so many photographers say, but I did start with drawing. And that turned into one or two classes in photography. And then it turned into, I shouldn't do any of this because I need to go to college and get a job. Okay. Then I went to college and joined the military and I couldn't get a job. So I became a photographer, which was sort of this thing that was growing in me since 2006. Started taking pictures. And then that was in the military. Then I got out of the military, finished my bachelor's, finished my master's, couldn't get a job anywhere. But during that time, I was getting better at photography. I was selling some of my work to pay for more camera stuff and to pay for more art shows, and then started making money at those art shows. So when it came to almost finishing my bachelor's and I was applying for work and looking for internships or what have you, and no one was picking me up, I started leaning more on the only income that I was getting and really focusing on the business side of all that. And that's what turned me from what I guess you would call a hobby part-time photographer to a full-time artist. And
What is it? What is it about photography that turns you on or lights the fire? Like why? What's the magic for you?
the challenge. So there's the answer starts with what it was at first, and then the answer is what is it now. So at first I was in Hawaii. I'm super competitive. So I would go to the location, which almost everyone knows about, some of the places, and there'd be other photographers there. And I would say to myself, how can I take a picture that's different and better than everyone else sitting here lined up? And that's how I started creating a very different feeling in my images, and some different compositions in what were highly photographed places. And the camera was the easy access thing for me at the time. I actually just started drawing again, like a week ago, or more like 3 days ago. And you really, when you're an artist, in general speaking, you just have a creative idea that you have to put into some sort of visual, physical format. For me, I was in the military, I picked up a camera, and that's just where it started again, instead of someone guiding me through the beginning of doing painting or something like that. But now that I'm where I am now, the camera is not exactly the best tool for the stuff I want to create. So I have to start expanding into other things. And that means going back to drawing and going back to painting, but then applying them to today's world. So that's painting in VR, which is something I really have to start making some time to learn, and digital art that can also be sold and shown physically. So the camera in particular doesn't really turn me on. It's just that it's the tool I know for now.
And as a tool, well, do you feel like do you get into the whole like photographer geeky tech stuff? Like, is it the gear, right? Like, is it oh, I love my Nikon, or yeah, do you nerd out on all that
I
technical
like
side.
getting new toys, right? So electronics are, just fun to play with, and if they're built well, they're really nice. But I'm not a technical photographer at all. And one of my collections is the Aria, right? Which portraits. And whenever I do one of those, it takes me half a day to take a single picture. And it's because I have to play with the light and I have to work usually with, I'm pretty underfunded at times. So it's like I'm using Home Depot lights and I'm trying to move them or what have you. So I always tell the people I'm working with that, hey, I'm not a technical, like if I do a model interview before a shoot, one of the things I tell them is I'm not a technical photographer. We're going to do a lot of experimenting to make this idea come to life. So not a tech head or a gear jockey or whatever you call it. I do have a brand new fancy camera though that I bought earlier this year, medium format. So I am a little bit, I want to be on the leading edge with the tools that I'm using. So I bought the shiniest hammer, for lack of a better term.
Cosmin, who the founder of Contribute To, always says, you can't place a hammer next to a nail. You got to pick up the hammer and hammer the nails, which I love. I think it's a German expression, but he always uses it. And it's like every time someone talks about a hammer now, it's all I think about is that you can't give someone a hammer to put next to a nail. You have to show them how to drive the hammer into the nail.
I like that because there's long gaps between me and creating. Yeah, I haven't taken a picture with this camera in weeks, because it just takes me a long time to actually get to the part. So I always have my hammer sitting next to my nail, or I'm never using it. So yeah, I see what he means in that. It probably translates better in German.
It probably sounds better too.
Mhm.
And tell me, it feels like a good segue. Is there anything you're working on right this second that you're excited about, or a new direction?
I'm actually excited for the first time in a long time about what I'm doing. So next week, I'm shooting my first personification. And I'm calling them that because I don't have a better term. The whole collection is going to be called Personifications of Nature, but it's the intersection between the landscapes like I'm doing now and the Aria collection and working with models. And what I want to create is landscapes made with a human in them, where the human looks like the landscape. And I'm not talking about sort of the cliche bodyscape where they put a bunch of bodies together to make them look kind of like mountains. I'm taking a model and I'm putting her in a suit that looks like stone. And then I'm putting her in water and I'm photographing her as a sea stack or a monolith coming out of the water. And I'm putting that together with other elements and making that into one piece. So when people see this, I'm going to show this at Basel. When people see it, they're going to see a seascape. They're not going to see a person until they really spend some time with it. And then the person will come out. And because of the NFT market, I can take this image because I'm shooting it in pieces. I'm shooting a sunset, I'm shooting the person, I'm shooting whatever. And I can shoot several different backgrounds and shoot several different images and create a whole world out of them. And there's a way to, in the digital world with NFTs, to give ownership to different layers. I know this is taking a long time, but it's really exciting. So people could buy the background, the sky layer, and there'll be several layers in there, and they can change the picture. They can put in the sky, the sunset, or they can put in the moody rain clouds that I photograph, and then the main piece will adjust too, but someone else will own that. So if someone picks a sunset, and the person who owns the actual sea stack will put the rainy sea stack, or hold on, I got a spray bottle. I need that. And then they'll put them together. So there'll be one overall owner, but it allows this really interactive piece of artwork that depends on like the final image that people are looking at in the metaverse, it will be put together by the people who own it and my creativity. So this is the first piece that I'm creating that's really meant for the metaverse and the NFT market, as well as the physical market.
crazy to me about you, uh, having, I've met a ton of artists along the way, and there aren't many who are so good at understanding the business side of things and the creative side of things. And just in there, you just talked about a series that you've already worked out, like this new market NFT world, right? You figured out how to traverse that with a new series you want to do really quickly. I mean, really, really quickly. NFTs are in their infancy. Um, and to make a question out of a statement, how do you marry up those two time and time again, that creative side of you and the business side of you?
Marriage. um, there is there's a bridge between the creativity and the business side. For instance, when I finished this piece behind me called Concordia, it stops becoming a piece of art and it becomes a product, right? And you sell products. You don't really sell art, right? You sell products. So when I define it as a product, I can then market it based on the parameters or the characteristics of it being a product. So it's a fine art luxury item and limited edition or small quantity with potentially large demand. So that's what affects the price. And then because you know those things, you can go after the people who would be interested in it based on its characteristics. I think I've always been a little bit business minded. Maybe I got that from in the blood from my father. I don't. Business is just a skill. There's no talent in business. There's talent in communication, and there's talent in. Well, that's it. That's the only part where you maybe could have a knack for it, but everything else is just a skill. You open a textbook and you figure it out. So I did that, and then it just becomes part of what I know.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I think that there's definitely being able to see things clearly is key to knowing how to run a business. So I mean, I think that there is a lot of talent in the way that you traverse those two things. And then also that you sort of give that, you pay that forward, right? Your ability to sort of cut through the noise of the art world and the art market. You then talk to other artists about how to do it, and you're really transparent. I mean, even the way your website is run is more transparent than most galleries. If you go to a gallery's website and you want to see how much something costs, you're like, oh, I've got to email someone, most likely. Or most photographers' websites, it'll say starting prices, but you're really, you're wonderfully clear cut.
Actually, I don't have any prices on my website.
You don't?
No, there's a few. I've been testing this. So here's the business side. I marketed one of my pieces called Wandering Star to a local audience because it's a local mountain and local image. And I had the prices on there. And and any of the people who reached out to me about collecting the piece asked me what the damn prices were, because the people don't read on the internet. But what I think my website is really good at is answering questions before they have to ask them. So whenever you're communicating with someone and trying to sell something or give them an idea to latch onto, there's going to be a bunch of objections that they have to overcome. Like, is it going to fit in my place? What's it going to look like? Is it high quality? Things, what's it look like up close? A big thing with selling on the internet is, what does it look like in real life? So I need to do more video, but that's mostly what I use social media for. So my website is made to answer those objections. So there's a whole bunch of examples with frames, because that's one of their questions. And there's a whole bunch of examples in the home so people can visualize. And then it's a contact me thing. So yeah, and members in the Art of Selling Art are testing this too. And sometimes for some of them it works. They have prices set up and people can click and buy. And then sometimes they just have to message me. And part of that is because the end presentation of the work can vary so much. If I was just selling a print, which I hate using that word print, but if I was just selling a paper edition, then I wouldn't have to worry about people's framings or acrylic or what have you, because they could just click and buy and take care of the rest of it. But I kind of offer a more uh, through service, and that ends up requiring people to actually talk to me about framing and presentation. So it's been a thing. It's been a struggle.
Do you think that it's helpful that people have to speak to you?
I think it is, because part of buying the art is liking the artist. So the website, I do my best to transfer who I am via the stories and stuff like that. But the actual conversation, I think, solidifies it for people.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But then I also think that all of selling art is about telling a story. And so you need to be able to talk about the work, and you need to need to be able to talk about how it was made. And if you can't do those two things, it doesn't work.
But they're also two, I'd like to say that those are two separate things. How it was made and the art itself are two separate things. There's a lot of artists that I come across that think that how it was made is the story, but it's not.
No way. No way, right? And then there's that whole other thing of, for the longest time, we wanted art for art's sake, and we wanted to remove it from it being this commercial thing. And I think that's been a massive mistake for so many reasons, right? For the so many artists don't want to talk about money. They don't want to get involved in the business side of what they do, because they just say they're the creative, they're the artist. They want to be one step removed, and as a result, they either get screwed, or they're not sort of participating in their own markets. And I think that is foolhardy, sadly.
Yeah,
but
I think that that's just an education thing again, because business is just being educated. And instead of saying, I don't know how to do this, they say, oh, that's not for artists. Like, that's not part of what I do, because that's the business side and I can't do it. It's an excuse.
Yeah.
To not actually do the work. But yeah, we're getting on a tangent.
Totally getting on a tangent, which is not what we're supposed to do. So tell me though about artists selling art. When did you set that up, and what was the reason behind it all?
So along the way, I realized that I was always going to be a teacher, that being a teacher is something that is integral to my character. And I can kind of see where it comes from my mom a little bit, because she just thrives on telling people what to do. But when I was in the military, I became a subject matter expert. So then I became a teacher in my subject matter. When I got out of the military, I taught in substitute teacher, and I taught a special ed class as a co-teacher for a year. And then I decided I hated kids, so I went to high school. I love you, buddy. And so I ended up teaching high school and then college. So I realized that teaching is a thing that I should maybe keep around to keep me feeling fulfilled. And I was always having these conversations with other artists, not about art, but about business. Like, how did I make the sale? How did I do so well at this art show? And it started to grow into something that was taking a lot of time. And the business side says you should get paid for your time. So I also needed to create a way to streamline this transfer of information, of knowledge. So Artist Selling Art started in 2018 as a beta course, just to see if I really had any value for anybody. And from there, it moved to a real course, and now it became what it is today, which is I have over 250 members, some of which have tripled their income, gone from, one of my members went from 50K a year, so mid-career artist making a fair income, to she's already crossed 100, and we're just in July, right? And other artists start making, they start doing better at art shows, they start gaining momentum. So I like helping those people. It makes me feel like I did something.
That's awesome. I don't think there is another program like that out in the world.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but what I think, there are other programs. So there are people who teach Facebook ads, and there are people who help artists write artist statements and things like that. But I don't think there's as comprehensive as I have, because what I do there is I break down pretty much everything I've done. So there's a module in there about creating a sole proprietorship. And then there's a module in there about doing your taxes. But there's also a module about how to find your voice as an artist, or how to do Facebook ads, or how to get PR, or do your own PR. So it's got everything I do. Right now, I'm really procrastinating, but I'm supposed to be making a module on how to use Pinterest to leverage, how to leverage Pinterest and social media, because it's kind of the best social media out there, and artists aren't really using it. I'm not using it that well. So, or I wasn't. And so that's the thing. I did the thing, I created the strategy, and I'm going back and doing some research to fill in the holes, and I'll make a whole tutorial out of going from nothing to 500,000 views a month. So that's.
Do you have a dream for both of those things, for both your own career and artist selling art?
Yeah, there are two different silos of work, right? I just kind of want to continue creating, and maybe labor less on the selling from my own work. And I'm going to Basel this year, thanks to you guys, or thanks in part to you guys. And those big art shows are the ones I really enjoy. And I feel like fit my work and where I am in my career. So I want to continue doing that. Artist selling art, not going to lie, because I'm always straightforward, is $1 million course. It's $1 million product a year. So my target, just for business, is to do $1 million in revenue in 3 years, which I don't think is unattainable. It's just time and exposure. So those are my two things. Those are my two visions. I used to feel that I shouldn't make money in the artist selling art, or I shouldn't make more money in the artist selling art than I do in my own business of selling art. But I've been able to draw a real clear line between them, because they are completely different, unrelated, totally different markets. And there's no reason I shouldn't make money helping people.
No, not at all.
Plus, it takes most of my time.
I'm sure.
It really does.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Artists are needy. They need a lot of help.
Yeah.
So let's back up and tell me about your journey with Contribute To. How has that been?
So months and months ago, like last year, someone reached out to me asking me if I would help, help and also be a part of Contribute To. And they asked me to make a card, and then they asked me for some feedback and blah, blah, blah. And then they told me about it. And whenever I get an offer from someone like you guys, my first thought is, how can the artist in the artist selling art use it? So I was like, let's explore it. Let's see if it works. And if it works, then great, I make a little bit of money, but also I can show other artists how to make some income. And then it kind of just faded out until you reached out to me. Like, it just kind of faded to the back of my mind. And then I guess it went through some evolution and became sort of the more solid beast that it is today. And you reached out to me and were like, hey, let's pick this up again. So I was like, yes, let's do it. Because over that time, I had received a few donations, just a few random people, a few random patrons giving me money just because they like my work, because they like my card and whatever I said on the card. And I'd like, 1 month I would get $80. And I would just see a statement. I'd be like, oh, where did that come from? And then, $25 here and there. So I knew it worked. And when you guys reach out to me, I realized what I always look for in people helping artists is actual participation by the company. So you were there and Cosmin was there, and you guys were saying, okay, let's do this together. And here's how you make it succeed. So I looked at that, we did the thing, and we ran a promotion together. But before our promotion even started, I had over $1,000 of contributions. And I don't even know who those people are. It was just random. I don't want to say random, but it was just patrons browsing your site saying, this guy, I like his work. And I'll be honest, like, I don't think my work is all that great. Maybe all artists think that way, but there are artists who have much better work than me that don't make a dime. And it's really just about showing your artwork to the right people. And it seems like all the right people or contribute to attracts the right type of person who's gonna love your art. So 1 week in, or actually like 5 or 6 days in, $1,000 a week in, what was it, like 30,000 or 10 or 15, and then 2 weeks in, 69.
But that was you, right? That was very specific, or very specifically you. You came up with one, a fantastic ask. So you spelled out that you wanted to get to Art Basel Miami this year at one of the satellite fairs, present yourself as an independent artist, not as part of a gallery. And then you quite literally picked up the phone, sent tons of emails. I think you probably texted hundreds of people, but you like put it to work, you know.
I hustled. Yeah.
You hustled. So, and I love that word. I'll say to people, they're like, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm in the art world and I'm basically a hustler. And I don't mean it in a pejorative sense. Like I work in a myriad of ways, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that an artist can do the next thing. And that's exactly what you did. Like you totally, I mean, I could tell that's all you were doing for those weeks, was really like,
I had to stop everything and do that. Yeah. So the offer was the ask was help me with the art selling art. And I saw an opportunity to create sales through Contribute To, with all the people who said they couldn't afford my art before, because you were matching my donations. So something that I would sell for $10, I could sell for $75 or $7.50 and still make $15, make more, while offering a deal to a lot of people, offering an opportunity for them when they couldn't get one before. Because in one of my emails, I wrote, this is the only effing discount I'm going to give this year. Because I don't do discounts. I just don't believe it. But I do keep I'm going to say I don't do discounts broadly. I won't announce a sale, but I do keep a basket that I call low hanging fruit. And those are the people who I went to work on. And you wanted a piece of art, here's an opportunity to get it at a discounted rate if you go through Contribute To. So I did text, I did Instagram, I did Facebook Messenger, I did Facebook Business Page Messenger, all of those things, all those conversations. I lost a lot more people than actually purchased, but it was enough.
What do you mean you lost more people?
Well, lost may not be the right word. I didn't get the sale with a lot more people. I got a lot more rejection than I did sales. But that's just the game.
But yeah, I mean, that's the same would be true for a gallery exhibition, for, I mean, literally anything. I don't think you ever convert more people than not. But do you feel that it was, aside from obviously the financial piece, which was hugely successful, do you feel like it was a successful, I don't want to use this word, but I can't think of a different one, like a happy, fulfilling experience? And let me position that, right? Because yeah, I know that, well, wait, when I go to an art fair, right, and you do that week long standing in a booth, you're talking about the art over and over and over, and you are met with faces that are just like, yeah, no, lady, I don't like this work and I don't like you, and you're talking to the wrong person. You get to the end of that week and all the highs and lows of that, you're then exhausted, and it takes a second to look back and think, okay, that was great. And I sort of wondered if this might have been like that for you as well, that like the adrenaline journey rush of, oh my God, okay, another one's come in. Let me go see if I can push it some more.
Yes. Yes, and I used the fact that other people were buying and contributing to as a social proof for people who were buying, who wanted to buy and were on the fence. I think for me, the money doesn't really give me satisfaction. It's the sale, it's the win. So having those, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to feel that you have, you know what the really great thing is, feeling that you can go for the next however long. You have room to breathe financially. So that's a breath of fresh air, of course. Is that your question? I don't
Yeah,
know. Okay.
yeah, I think so. It's right. We're trying to work out. This thing is brand new, and we're sort of trying to work out one, how it fills a void that hasn't, you know, or fixes something, right? That for an artist to pull money from their own pockets to go and do an exhibition like a Basel, it's a high risk thing.
Mhm.
Or publishing a book, right? Self-publishing a book where you're putting 20-30 grand into just actually the printing. Like that's a big outset for any business. And so when I look at Contribute To and what I think it can do for artists, it's like, well, it takes away some of that upfront risk, right? That normally has been controlled by galleries. Right. And so the gallery will say, well, I'll put in the book and then I'll take 50% of all profits from here until we're done with that series. So I'm just, long story short, but I'm interested in then how it makes our artists feel, right? Because at the end of the day, the money is great, but if we're also creating an environment where you guys feel supported and like you'd come back and do it again.
Here's what it's gonna do. I think I have the answer. I can go to Basel and not feel like no desperation, because Basel's going to cost me 20 plus grand, right? It was 7,000 for a house to stay in for 2 or 3 weeks, and 10,000 just for the booth before all of the little costs like stickers and lights and all of that stuff. So it's already cost me 16 or 17 grand, and I'm going to sell some of the rooms in the house, but I can go to Basel and not feel like I'm starting from negative, because that money is a bonus that came from my bonus budget now. And I think being able to be at the show in non-desperation and being able to talk without feeling and giving off this energy that you really need that sale is going to be a huge bonus for me while being there.